What's something you saw that you weren't definitely supposed to see? I was an Aussie child and I was looking through my grandmother's address/phone number book. She had little post-its tucked in random places. I came across a note that was a list of things she wanted to do to be happy, and one of them was find a man that loves me. My grandfather had died a while back, probably 8 years previous. It didn't make me sad then, but it really does now, because she has dementia and can't remember things that happened a few seconds ago. My grandma divorced when my dad was 8, and her husband moved away, so my dad and his siblings hardly saw him. My grandma didn't date anyone as far as I know, and still hasn't, but a few years ago got a dog. It was perfect for her. She could talk to it, and it was generally a great dog. One night she let it out to go pee, and it didn't come back. We looked for it that night and my dad found it 30 feet away in a ditch. It had been hit by a car. They went to go put it down the next day and I can still hear my grandma wailing. My dad gave me his phone to order something because mine was out of battery, and on Google the first tab I see is how to tell your child a loved one is dying. My mum has been ill 4 years now and I've been in denial about it getting any worse, but this finally broke me. That's rough. I'm so sorry. I hope you're doing okay now. A text from my wife to someone else. I can't wait to feel every inch of you deep inside me. Divorce is going okay, but are you okay? He will be better off without her in the long run at least. Facts. I have the same first name as the CFO of my former employer. The CEO was not very technically savvy and emailed me confidential company documents more than once. Edit. Wow. Thanks all. 30k upvotes just because my CEO was an idiot. And now you are working for their competitors, which mysteriously crushed them. It's a foolproof win and the CEO is luckily a fool. When I was around 10 years old, my mom and I went to visit an aunt and uncle, as my uncle, my mom's brother, had just had a major surgery. During the visit my aunt and my mom cooked a big dinner and my aunt tells me to go call for my cousin to eat dinner. I go to his room and open the door to be greeted by the sight of guns lining the bed, and I vividly remember seeing bricks of what I later learned were cocaine and big burlap sacks of weed. I blurted out, "Your mom's aide Comiat," and immediately slammed the door shut. It was no secret to anyone in our family the type of business that our cousins were in. He came out of his room a few minutes later and scolded me for not knocking. I was scared shitless, but the young kid brain in me was also extremely fascinated to see that they were real life drug lords. My guy, you were practically in a gang movie when they are prepared to make a risky deal, Mayo. The fact blocks of cocaine and guns were everywhere must mean that they were going to be doing something with it soon. Yay bruv, but I could only imagine that specific scenes use if the world were a movie, Mayo. Definitely going to go with my grandmother's vibrator. Don't you have one of your own you could use? They just don't make them like they used to. I was living with my girlfriend and her parents. One day I run down the stairs real quick to use the bathroom to see her parents getting down and dirty under the blanket on the couch. At this point it was too late to turn around, so I just ran past them. I use the bathroom and come out to her dad waiting in the kitchen. Most awkward moment I've had when it comes to parents, lol. I'll trade you. I barged in my parents' bedroom to seeing my mom ride my dad. Awkward as hell. Had to go to family reunion that day. 45 minutes away. Was near them both all day. To this day, I'm not sure if they saw me. I was jerking off before work one day in my room with earphones in. I seen movement in the corner of my eye over beside my door. I was my dad back. He had walked in to see me fully naked and eating my meat. Then nipped the fuck out. He gave me a lift to work that day in almost dead silence. That's why I never have both earphones in. Always scared I won't hear someone. That's why I always lock the fucking door. I went to pay a ticket I got while driving with my headlights turned off. I walked into the courthouse office I was supposed to be in and looked through the glass to see the elected male sheriff giving the female magistrate a back and shoulder rub. They both went white when I knocked on the glass. The sheriff immediately stopped and walked to another room. The magistrate gave me the weirdest look and said, "I guess Christmas came early for you" stamp, and gave me the receipt of the voided ticket. Sometimes it pays to see something you're not supposed to see. AAH. The sweet smell of corruption. That's not what that smell was. When I was about 9 years old, I was sat in my mum's car at a T-junction right at the front, and I was in the passenger seat. On the opposite side of the T-junction was a hill with a bunch of houses on and a path going directly up the hill, which had quite tall fences on either side. I could see a woman walking down the hill with a big pushchair in front of her, and her view of the path along the road was obstructed by the fences. She just walked out onto the path, pushchair first, and didn't see that there was a guy on a bike cycling along the pathway. He couldn't see her either as she was obscured by the fence. He swerved to miss the pushchair and came flying off the bike and straight into the road. Just at the moment a lorry drove by and it ran straight over his head. Me and my mum saw everything. She quickly put her hand in front of my face so I couldn't see, but it was too late. I can still remember the woman's screams and seeing the blood splattered on the road. My mum had to stick around to tell the police what had happened as we saw the whole thing play out. I remember my mum taking me home and buying us pizza and us spending the whole night on the sofa under the duvet as it clearly messed her up too. I had nightmares about it for years, but I haven't thought about it for a little while until I started reading some of the other stories here. I remember being young, 5 or 6, in the car and my mom suddenly telling my sisters and I that if we could keep our eyes closed for a full minute, she would get pizza for supper. We were poor, so pizza was rare. So we all closed our eyes and kept them closed for what seemed like a long time. Something triggered the memory for my sister years later, when we were all teenagers, and my mom confessed a pedestrian had been hit by a car and the ambulance was performing CPR in the street. She was able to turn onto a side street with other traffic, but she had to think of a way to get all of us to close our eyes so we wouldn't see the gore and the person dying. I admire how quickly she figured that out. She couldn't remember if the person survived or not. Wow, that was some excellent quick thinking by your mum, and in what must have been a traumatic moment for her. Mom was a nurse and had seen some pretty serious body horror stuff, so it didn't really impact her as much. She said the nursing home was worse than the urgent care clinic. In terms of medical horror, she was always pretty good about quick thinking with us. To be fair, we used to play all kinds of car games because we were 3 restless kids and she was a single mom. I needed a USB drive at work one day and asked one of my coworkers if I could borrow one. It didn't work though. For some reason files wouldn't transfer to it. I started looking around for clues and found an absolute massive porn collection on there. The coworker was looking over my shoulder the whole time. The only thing I could think of to say was HMM. Interesting. I'm imagining how awkward and feebly HMM. Interesting came out and I'm absolutely crying. OMG. Just woke and boke and this has me absolutely sent right now. Edit. Woke and boke. Just wake and baked and this has me absolutely sent right now. Where did you go? My mom's suicide plan. She had a small notepad that she kept in her dresser drawer. It had her planning on trying to make it look like her accident so my dad could collect the insurance money. She almost even went through with it one day, but from my understanding my brother unexpectedly came home early from either school or a friend's, and she didn't go through with it. On Thanksgiving when I was like 15, my older and younger brother had both been arguing with my mom all day long. My older brother kept saying how much of a bitch she was. I walked into her room that evening and saw her standing by her bed with a few pill bottles open sitting on the nightstand and her crying while holding a handful of pills. I didn't say anything, just walked over and gave her a hug and held her for like an hour. Eventually she asked for me to let her go and walked to the bathroom and threw the pills in the toilet. The next week we found out that my stepdad had been fucking his boss while away for work and called my mom on Thanksgiving to tell her he wanted a divorce. My mom and I didn't talk about what happened for a few months. Eventually when she opened up about it, she said I was the only reason she didn't take the pills and that I had saved her life. She died the week after our talk from an unrelated accident. It will have been 10 years since then in March. Still miss her every fucking day. I have never told this story to anyone. Nobody in my family even knows. Will probably delete it in a bit. Just felt like sharing. I'm sorry for your loss. It was good that she got to see your kindness and warmth one last time in her last days. Some people aren't as lucky as you and treat a close one badly unintentionally and after their death live in regret that they did not part goodbye on a good note. Thankfully your mother saw in you what she need to see in her ending days. Hope she is somewhere in peace. Living out in the country. When I was 10 years old, my parents went to the local video rental place and brought back a few VHS. They told me to pop in Planet of the Apes. I didn't. Whoever had it before didn't rewind it, and it started mid-video. And all you heard was moaning, and all I saw was an eye full of dick and vagina. And I stared glued to the TV, and my parents freaked out and ran to turn off the TV. Apparently the small video rental store back then doubled as an adult video store as well, and somehow they accidentally grabbed a copy of Playmate of the Apes by accident. Playmate of the Apes. My sides. In the early zeros, when everyone was accusing Iraqi dictator of having weapons of mass destruction, there was an all-anal video called Weapons of Mass Destruction. My mom and her male friend fucking in our barn when I was 9 years old. After that our parents divorced and never spoke with each other again. I'm now 37. Heh, same. Caught my dad and his female writing partner in an alfalfa field when I was 12. Parents got divorced the following spring. 2 chest maces. My mom's old friend came over. She is a little crazy but sweet, too. She said I looked just like her daughter, and then spent about 10 minutes scrolling through her camera roll with me to find a picture of her. In the process I saw like 2 to 3 dick pics. She was a bit embarrassed, but just said I'm sure you've seen a penis before. Sorry, I assured her it was fine. Honestly by the looks of the dick I was more concerned for her. My mill was showing me photos of her on vacation with her boyfriend. Swiped through a dick pic. Didn't even flinch. I feel like this is the only way to react to accidentally showing someone a dick pic, haha. Don't even acknowledge it. When I was 16 a colleague of mine wanted to show me some pics on her phone. I don't remember what it was about. She was in her mid-30s and a hefty Bulgarian lady. She swiped through her pics and suddenly there is her hubby back quote dick on full display. She stopped for a second and without a flinch and in a strong Bulgarian accent she said, "Oh baby girl, you are too young for this," and continued her swiping. I didn't say one word. My ex's Reddit where he was asking for relationship advice. Had her same. We lived together and she went to visit a city she used to live in to visit friends. Apparently the nostalgia got the best of her as she felt the need to reach out to her ex. Plus look for a job and apartment while she was there. Came home. Only told me about the job and apartment, but not her ex. I happened to find her Reddit one day a few weeks later. Found a thread on r/relationship_advice from her. And read the thread. She used fake names the whole time and I thought I was Chris. Nope. But when I read it and put her ex's name as Chris, that story made a lot better sense. Broke up with her after that. Edit. Best part was she was asking for relationship advice regarding the ex, not our relationship. I wasn't mentioned in the story at all. Meaning she left out the fact that she's seeking advice to repair a former relationship while in a different relationship. When I was 8 I saw my mom have a seizure due to being physically addicted to alcohol and her trying to quit. It was a very violent seizure and I went into shock. In the terms of traumatic childhood events I probably was not supposed to see that, but I have quite a few. I was definitely not supposed to see my former boss banging the woman from the housekeeping agency. I was also not due the 35% raise that came my way the following month, but hey, worth it? Absolutely. Not because the job was great, it was shit. But it gave me a leg up in negotiating a higher salary at my next role. You had a leg up and so did she. Actually it was more of a face on the floor. Ass in the air power fuck. If you are new to TattleTale TV, please subscribe. We have new videos every day. Stay tuned for more coming up next.